well.
Good afternoon. Elizabeth Alexis from CARD. There's two things that I want to talk about. First, we keep coming back to whether this is an academic discussion or whether there's a right answer or a wrong answer. And we pointed out in our environmental review comments that Mark Bradley, who was mentioned as one of the primary sort of modelers in this, has said that the model has been improved so that it only takes about 2 hours to run a scenario. So we said, fine, run the scenario, see what happens if you use some of those original sensitivities to frequency, right? Is this a big issue or a little issue? And based upon the actual numbers in the ridership study, as far as we can tell, that change, it sandbagged the Altamont, which is one of the two corridors they were looking at, the entire purpose for the study, by 20 million riders. That's 2 times the entire ridership of the Northeast corridor, so it's not small. Now, they responded, well, it might be hard, or might be this, or might be that. That's absolute nonsense. They ran 72 different scenarios. They've looked at fares here, there, and everywhere using the same model. There are many ways that they could get together to do this. So within a couple hours, you could see whether this is a 20 million rider problem. And if it is, you've got a big problem. You don't need to spend $5 million on this. If you could run this.
So you support letting Cambridge provide all that data to UC?
I would absolutely support that, but you don't have to do that. You could have a phone call between Professor Mott and I would be happy to participate, probably David Ory's MTC in Cambridge, and within a half an hour we could determine a couple of scenarios, and the next day within the existing budget you could have numbers. Because I'll get to my second point, which is I was frankly, and I probably inappropriately shocked that they were asking for $5 million more for Cambridge. Well, I think it's established that Cambridge is a leading firm in this place. I've actually looked at the process that was done. I've looked at every report that was produced for the ridership study, and it is shoddy work. There are typos. There are mistakes. The final report, which was issued a year after this frequency change was made, failed to note this. This is the primary, most important thing about the entire ridership study. And they had the old, outdated information, which didn't allow anyone to actually analyze this. They may now have cost the state of California millions of dollars by basically meaning all of this environmental work that's been done on Northern California may need to be thrown out. They've cost years. And so for me, I would be looking at an investigation of how this happened, because they've been asked to produce some kind of documentation about why they made this judgment call, right, which presumably would have been a big deal and a big debate since it was such an important thing. There is not an email to support the decision that they made and the change that they made. There's nothing. It doesn't exist anywhere. Every report they ever published, and still the ones on the High-Speed Rail Authority's website, say that they did not change it. And they did change it, and they've admitted now that they changed it. So I don't see why we're not looking at an investigation of how this happened and who's responsible instead of giving another $5 million in money.
Thank you.